Hello, I'm retired Battalion Chief Larry Cockman from the Greensboro, North Carolina Fire Department History Book Committee. We're here today at the Greensboro Historical Museum. I'm standing in front of the General Green, the first steam pumper, or as they called it back then, a steamer. Today, December 9th, 2019, we are starting a new tradition of recording and preserving the heritage and culture of our retirees. Our retirees have contributed so much to the success of our great fire department. Their stories retire with them and are sometimes gone forever when they pass away. They will share their emergency calls that will always be a part of their memories forever. So sit back and listen as they carry us through their journey in the Greensboro Fire Department.
My name is Sherman Roger Collis. Age is 81. And at the time I retired in 1993, I was rank as captain. I'm originally from Spruce Pine, North Carolina, up in the mountains, up close to Asheville. And I got down this way with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and kind of got hooked on Greensboro, I guess. Before I joined the fire department, I was working at Container Corporation of America, which is a box factory, and I heard that they might have an opening at the fire department. So I went to see Chief O'Shea. He was the assistant chief for that time, and a person had just quit. And so he said, yeah, I'm needing somebody. So he asked me if I had a high school diploma and that sort of stuff. And Chief O'Shea talked kind of Chicagoan. And he told me said to come work in 2 weeks. And I didn't really understand him. I got to thinking about it after about a week. I'd been back on the job, and I said, did he say come to work, or what did he say? So anyway, I called him. I hated to do it, but I called him. I'm a young guy, you know, and he's a big chief and all that. I called him, and he said, yeah, I want you to come next week, you know. So I said, okay. So I gave a week notice. Yeah, that was it. He wasn't hiring a group. I went on the fire department and waited for him to hire enough to have a group. Okay. Actually, what happened was they hired a group, and while they were in training, some other people rode the trucks without being, trained, but it worked. No, I never thought about becoming a firefighter. I was going to church, and the preacher at the church said, hey, there's a guy at the Coast Church here, Steve Faust. He said he went to the fire department. They said, why don't you ever thought about that? And I said, no, I hadn't thought about it, but then I got to thinking about it, and I said, well, I don't need to do what I'm doing now for the rest of my life, so I went up there then. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I think I remember. I took a cut in pay. It was $312 a month. I had Chief Russell and Chief Powell was the training officers, and Chief Russell had a devotional every morning for our training class, so I was impressed with that. Well, I don't remember many. Tommy Lemons was in there. Other people in the class was I don't remember many of them, but I just remember Tommy Lemons, and I remember Richard Cates was in the class. Gene Hildreth was in the class, but he kind of left us before it was over, I think. And I think it's the only one we lost, the best I remember. Yeah, when I went to work there, after I got through training, I felt like, well, this is a good job for me, and I liked of course, we were working 24 on, 24 off, but it's still, I liked the job. Well, Kelly days worked like it evened your hours out. If you worked every other day, that was too many hours, so they gave you a Kelly day every fifth day or something, and it cut you. You was off 3 days, and it worked out. It worked out to cut you hours. We was working, I don't know, 72 hours a week or something, I think, at the time, and it cut it down some. Yeah, my first station assignment was Central Fire Station, and I was assigned to the ladder truck too. And of course, the captain on the truck at the time was R.B. Kent. So it was a good start, I guess, you know. Yeah, oh yeah, Dewey Kivett was a driver on the truck when I went there, and also Jack Fredel. A lot of people might not remember him, but he was there for at the time, and Herman Cruz was on the truck, and I think that's about all that was on it. We either had 5, I think we had 5 on the truck at the time. Yeah, we had of course, to get a fire call, the bell hit 6 times, and you know, and you always waited till the new guy was in the shower and, you know, all soaked up, and then you could walk in there and actually physically hit that bell 6 times, and he would come out of the shower and jump in a pair of quick hits and down the pole, slide down the pole, and, you know, and it was just a prank. I'd say there was a guy by the name of Raymond Cochran that worked there. And we used to cut each other's hair. He cut mine, I cut his, or Woodrow Parrish would cut it. But you had the trick was you had to be undressed to get a haircut. Of course, you didn't get no hair on your clothes. But anyway, that's mostly what we did that for. And then too, we had a shower room at Central Station, and it had about 3 showers in it, and we put a blanket over the door one time, I remember, and we had a steam bath going. We had all the hot water turned on, and it was totally steamed up in the place. And then somebody threw a roll of toilet paper. And you know what that means. You throw one roll of toilet paper, somebody's going to throw it back, and somebody else is going to grab one and throw it. And so by the time we got through, and the next morning when that paper dried, it was all over the walls. Of course, we had to get, we got chewed out by Chief Honeycutt, which, you know, he said, boys, you shouldn't do things like that, you know. He was really nice about it. But anyway, we had another fellow up there that, there was 2 or 3 of us that was involved in that thing, and later on, this was later on, we got promoted. And he come back, he said, I wish I'd have been in on that thing with y'all. So anyway, yeah, the union was active during that time, and I was the secretary of the union at the time. Yeah, we always cooked. We had turnabout, we had 4 companies there, 2 wings and 2 ladders, and we took a week about cooking, and and of course the people back in the office eat with us a lot of times too. Fire prevention was there, and sometimes they came in there. Well, I think it's a good idea to cook at the firehouse, because you do learn how to cook, and of course you get a lot of feedback, which I don't want to go into that, but it's a good thing to do. I think it's a good thing to do to cook. Well, I guess a few, but yeah, we cooked different things. You know, we cooked Chief Kemp, or Captain Kemp at the time was pretty much cooking. He liked to cook pretty good, and he had chitlins a time or 2, and that didn't go too well. But yeah, I thought that was right funny the way it worked. No, I wouldn't consider myself a good cook, but I did cook some. I cook. I like to cook. I like to cook beefaroni, and I like to cook chili beans, and things like that. I spaghetti. I could do spaghetti and stuff, and that's my favorites. Well, when I started there, we put it at the fire department for lunch. We put in $1.25.
Lunch and
That's for 2 meals. That's for 2 meals a day. Of course, making the salary I was making, that was all right. You know, it worked out pretty good. But then it got on up to $2 and $3, about $3, about the longest, most we ever paid, I think, for it. Yeah. Well, I kind of liked the dorm life. I mean, it wasn't. I don't know why. I guess we had a lot of fun, you know, at night and stuff, and you know, people got their sheets shorted, and they got the razor blade or the razor foam on their mouth and things like that, you know. So, but anyway, it was good, and then when I went up to Central Station, we shared a bed with somebody else on the other shift when we was on 2 shifts, so we shared the same sheets and everything for a week. You know, you used them one night, and the other guy used them another night. So, but it worked out. You know, it wasn't bad. And I know there was a fire chief by the name of Barbie, and he had an office upstairs, and in the pool room. That's where the pool table was, and he'd get a few balls hit back there against his wall and stuff like that and be bouncing on the floor. And they told him, he'd fuss about it, and they'd say, well, you shouldn't have built an office in the pool room. So, anyway, well, the thing we did was, the thing I liked about the fire service when I first went there and later on when I needed help, we helped each other, and there was never no charge for anything. If you needed a roof put on, or you needed an outbuilding built, or you needed a driveway poured or something, you know, there was some guy knew how to do it. Some guy knew how to do plumbing, electrical, you know, and so all that stuff was done, I think, in-house. If somebody knew how to do it. I think if you when you visit, I visit a fire station once in a while, but I think it's important for the people there to get to know the former firefighter, and they can learn some things from them. You know, there's always room for learning from older people and from longevity and so forth. So I remember the first call I went on. I was on engine 1, and of course, you know, at the time we rode the back of the truck. On the tailboard, and you just held on, and of course I hadn't even been through training, so of course I got my helmet on backwards, but when I got to the fire, the captain told me, he said, don't go in there, just stand back and watch. So I was, you know, that was my first fire call that I could remember. There wasn't no fire much, but there was a small one, you know. Well, it was, when we got a fire call, when all the trucks got a call downtown, the engine 1 went out first, truck 1 went next, truck 2 went next, and the engine 2 went next. And it was just a parade down the street, but, and it was, I guess it was a thrill in a way. I enjoyed it. You know, you're on a fire truck and you get a lot of noise. When I hear a fire truck now, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, but you know, back then I did. I enjoyed it. Comm Center was there in the Station 1, in Central Station, and when we got a call, they hit a button and all the traffic lights, if we were going south on Green Street, the lights got green for us, and then it was the same way, and the light got green if you turned on Market Street. And usually we turned left on Market Street. Most of our calls, I guess, were on the east side of town, and so they had the band set up like that. Fireboxes they were numbered, and they were on street corners all over the town, you know, and they had a number, and when that box was, the handle was pulled on it or activated, the alarm came in and you counted the number of bells, and that's where you went, to that firebox. Yeah, we had a rescue truck there at Central Station, and it wasn't involved very much, but it was something, you know. It was a rescue truck, and it worked like a rescue truck, but it worked good. But you was just assigned, somebody was assigned to it every day. And yeah, I rode the rescue truck quite a few times, and we went on drownings and car wrecks and things like that. And yeah, well, the worst one, we went. I guess we went all over the county because the first call I remember riding was way down on the east side of town, outside the city, down on one of the streets down there, Mount Hope Church Road or somewhere. And I got to see what the fire truck would do, what the rescue truck. It runs around 95 miles an hour. The one I remember, I guess the best, is a White Cross store downtown. I think that was the biggest one I've been on. It lasted quite a while. It seemed like it was on Sunday afternoon. And we went down there and of course had to enter the building, and me and Jim Parker was on that call, and we were assigned, I guess, to go in the basement and take a hose with us and see what we could do down there. And of course, he was in front, and we were walking in there, and all of a sudden he was gone. And we didn't realize it, but there was a set of about 4 or 5 steps, and he fell down to the bottom of them. But I didn't know where he got to, but anyway, I found him. I guess the biggest fire call they had in town down on Davis Street, we were 5 blocks from it. We never got called in on it. I guess they had to keep some trucks in service, apparently, but I didn't never understand that, but we did get called for it. Yeah, when 9/11 happened, I was retired from the fire department, but I was affected by it because I could see the fire department and what they were doing in New York, and I knew they were in a lot of trouble because of tall buildings and going in them. There's a good possibility you're not coming out. But it affected me a lot in that way. I felt sorry for those guys, and I think they did the best job they could do up there. I had, well, especially when I was at Central Station, I had people I looked up to. Raymond Cockman was one of them, and Ritter, Eli Ritter, Tex they called him, and he was a straight guy. And Chief Honeycutt was a good example, and also Chief Christopher. I really looked up to him as a fire chief. When I was mostly at Central Station, we were. I wasn't crazy about washing vehicles, washing trucks, so I kind of got into mechanicking a little bit. I mechanic on somebody's car if they would wash mine, so that's the way that worked out pretty good like that. But as far as the fire department goes, I didn't like to roll hose. I mean, who likes to roll hose? But anyway, we did it. It's part of the job. If I had to go through the career again, I think at the fire service, I'd go ahead and go through it again because it was a rewarding job. And then after we got our hours switched up to decent hours, it was really a good job. I liked it. I don't know. I was at Central Station, and I was a captain back on truck 2 as a captain back at that time, and we got the fire at the O. Henry Hotel, and we had a death in there, and I set the ladder truck around the side and put the ladder up to the window, and I asked them to move the ladder up and we already had the front jack down, so it hit the curb and it bent it. So when we got ready to go back to the fire station, it wouldn't fit back in the slot. So we tied it up, went to the fire station, and we took the fire truck and run it up against the hydrant and hooked the rope to it, and we pulled that jack back straight, put it back up in there, and went on our way. Never said anything about it. So I guess that's one of the things that stands out for me, you know. I think some of the proudest moments I guess I had was to be able to show people around the fire station, and especially my own kids or grandkids. And I think it was good to be able to go when the parade came to town. We went to watch the parade, and the fire truck was ready to go if we needed to, you know. I'm not really hard, but you know, you have a job to do and somebody has to do it. It's just kind of like doctors. I wouldn't want to be a doctor and cut on somebody, but and a fire call, I think you get out there and you see somebody that's been hurt or even dead. It's something you have to get used to. I think you have to put up with it. It's part of the job, and you take that as part of the job. That's what it is. A lot of people, I've heard somebody say, firefighters are running in and other people are running out. You know, so and the same way with police officers, they just got the same thing. You know, they go shooting and everybody else is running, and they got to go find out what's wrong. Well, especially Jesse Gray was the first one, and I was real close to him, and me and Raymond Cockman and Woody Parrish was all pretty close together in there in the thing, and it hurt, but you have to go on and try to, you know, console Jesse's wife and kids, and it worked out, but I really felt bad about that situation there. Well, of course, the changes while I was at the fire department were the first one, I guess, major change was getting hours cut. We were working a lot of hours, and we got that cut. And then when they started doing fire reports differently, I think that was a big change for me, and I wasn't crazy about it. But you know, when you filled out the fire reports, and we had a engineer, I guess, at the fire station, and he started that program, and if you found a mistake on one, they sent them back to you. And I remember one particular incident where I found some little mistake on the thing, and I got the report back, and I kept it for exactly 1 year, and I sent it back in on the same day. I never heard anything from it. So, yeah, when I first went on, one of the hardest things, and it's probably the worst thing on me and a lot of other people, we didn't use our air pack equipment, and I think it hurt us physically, but the guy that could go in the fire and stay the longest without an air pack on was the one that was the best firefighter. So it don't make sense, I don't guess, but then it did, and now they changed that. You know, we had to go in with those things on, and then we started doing hydrant testing, and we started inspecting houses and things like this for for whatever, I guess it's for insulation and things like that, you know, and different things like that has changed a lot. Yeah, I do think hydrant inspection was valuable, because we have been to hydrants on a fire, and they wasn't producing anything. So that's why they're important. Yeah, I was in the armed forces. I was in the Army for 3 years, and I used that as my time after I got in the fire service. I had to pay some price, but I bought my service time, and it helped with my retirement, so it was very good for me. Yes, being in the service helps you with discipline, and it helps you to understand the change of command and things like that, and who you're supposed to report to and things. So that helped a lot with that. I think a successful firefighter would be one who really enjoyed his job and who put a lot of work into his job, a lot of effort into it to learn all he can about it. And it means a lot to the department and to his family, that not particularly that they get promoted all the way up, but that they do a good job and they're conscientious about their job. I don't know. I think when I was, especially when I started out at Central Station, we did have on Sunday we had Sunday school classes. We had a Sunday school there, and I think that when you include the spiritual things in the fire service, it helps a lot to be able to care for each other and each other's family, and to let them know how you like it, how you're getting along. Yeah, I think faith played a lot in my service, because I was a regular attender in church, and it hurt to be out every other Sunday. And then it got to where it was just every third Sunday, but that wasn't too bad, but it was still bad. Well, I had a lot of people on the fire department that I looked up to that did, especially off the job. We had fellowship with them, and we camped together. We did outdoor activities like playing golf and things like that. And that meant a lot to me, to be able to have time to do things like that. And to work on projects. We worked on each other's projects a lot, helping each other build things and get things straightened up at home, and Yeah, I'll tell you, I guess the main thing that made me want to retire, I got to thinking about all these chemicals that are out there that firefighters have to put up with and change. Then you've got a lot of things like meth labs and things like that that are dangerous. And I got, the main thing I think that I did was we went to fire smokehouse. We went to the smokehouse, and we had to go, the two of us had to go in and pick up a body and carry it out. We had air packs on. It was really thick smoke. We found the body, picked it up and started carrying it out. I hit my air pack on the face piece on the door jamb, and it knocked it loose, and I had to take 3 or 4 breaths before I got out of there holding a body. And when I got out, I said, I coughed for about 2 weeks over that. So I said, that's enough of this. And I had enough time. So my health was good up until last 3 years ago. I found out I had cancer, and I had aneurysm and things like this. But it's working. The Lord's working it out for me. Yeah, nobody knows for sure what causes your cancer, but I had lung cancer, and of course I smoked up until for a good while I was on the fire department, but going in the fires without air packs on a lot of times, and then even after the fire was out, you get a lot of bad odors and chemicals burning and things like that. So that had an effect, I think, on my health. If I had a chance to talk to firefighters today, I would tell them that they need to use the equipment that they're provided with, especially their air packs and their turnout gear, because there's been people that's been burned too in situations, and you have to, I think it's important to use all that stuff that they've provided for you. Well, I guess the first thing I want people to remember about me was I tried to live a Christian life in the fire service, and I made up my mind when I went there that I was going to do that, and no matter what come along, I was going to try to be a Christian about it. And I think it worked out good, and people respected me for it, and I got the opportunity to, you know, work with people that come and taught Sunday school and things like that, and I just think that that's one of the things I want people to remember me for, is that he was a above board guy. He was a Christian guy. He wouldn't do you wrong. I think what I'd like for my family to remember most of all is that I included them in the fire service. They came to visit with me many times, the kids and a wife and kids both. And I think that they learned a lot about the fire service and about the dangers of fire and things like this. And I think they would remember those things. Well, I'd like to, I didn't get, when we were talking about the fire central station, fire calls that we remember. We had a fire call down in Asheboro. Asheboro had a big fire down there, and the chief was moonwiring, and he came, and he and Captain Kent and the rest of us, Stuart Kibbett was the driver, and we took the fire truck to Asheboro and used it down there to help them fight that fire. But I thought that was kind of interesting that the fire chief rode down there with us. You know, he was kind of a big guy. Three guys up there in that little fire truck. You know, they were kind of narrow anyway, but I enjoyed that. And then we didn't have Captain Bill wasn't in there, so I like to remember things about him. One incident I failed to mention, I should have, I guess, was Raymond Cockman was up there with us, and Big Boy, Captain Bill, so they called him. He grabbed Raymond by the sides and just pinching his side, and that could be terribly sore. And he just picked him up, and Raymond about beat his head to death with his fists. The next morning, the Big Boy was sore-headed. He left there with a real sore head. And then one other thing I did want to tell was, I'm not going to tell who did it, but Chief Richard wanted, he said, cold water coffee is always better. So you start with cold water and you put it, and then you boil your coffee. And so the night before we went to bed, somebody put all the coffee pots filled with water and put them in the freezer. So when he got up the next morning, he was fussing like crazy. He come down there to make coffee, and he said, all the coffee's frozen. And we said, well, you like cold water coffee. So you got cold water coffee. But anyway, that was just a few of the little things I think that went along. And I know that Captain Bill, the Big Boy, he liked to save everything. He saved paper bags, grocery bags. And he would take them home and stack them in the closet. And he liked to save milk jugs. And he would put them in the freezer with water in them so he could, I guess, put them in his ice chest when he went to the beach. But somebody had took an ice pick and put a little hole in one or two of them. And when he got them home and set them in his closet, of course, when they thawed out, the whole thing weighed his closet down and everything. But anyway, he had milk jugs with ice in them for a while. I think the value of these interviews are, to me, it's an interesting thing to do, and it's a good legacy to leave to other firefighters, and later on, when this thing is completed and everything, future firefighters will want to do the same thing, and they'll want a legacy left of it. And their family will too. You know, their families will. Once they see some of these things, they'll want them themselves. Some of the little things we did up at Central Station always stick in my mind. One of the things is that Captain Bill was. We called him Boat. Of course, he boated.
Big boy.
Yeah, and when I got promoted to captain, I got his room up there, and I told him I got the marina because that's where they kept the boat. But anyway, he liked to walk around with his. I guess he had sinus problems sometimes, and he liked to walk around, but he always had his handkerchief sticking out of his pocket. And back then, we wore dress pants and white shirts. We did that for years after we first come on, and somebody was always sticking a lighter up there and setting his handkerchief on fire. He'd be walking around with that thing burning until he smelled that smoke, and then he got there. But anyway, that's just one of the things I think that was kind of funny to me. He was a good guy, and I run into a lot of people on the fire department that I really admire and that I'm thankful I got to know. You know, many of them. I can't name them all, but I could name quite a few, but I won't do that. But anyway, that I run around. I remember at Station 1, Gary Falk was a good friend. Also, Woodrow Parrish and Raymond Cockman was a good one, and we had that's the people we had a good time with at the station, and I enjoyed working with them. The same way with the captains. Captain Bill was fine. He was fine to work with, and you know, and then Captain Ritter at the time was a good guy to work with, and we just. Ted Bryant, I guess people remember him. He was, I thought a lot of Ted. He did a good job. But anyway, I could name a few, I guess, but that'll suffice for now, I guess. Yeah, I always thought a whole lot of Chief Christopher. I don't know, you probably knew him. And he was there for a long time. He was so easygoing, and you could do things wrong, and he could get them straightened out without really ruining your reputation, more or less, you know. So he could do it without chewing you out, so to speak. And he just a friendly guy to work with. He was down to earth. He wasn't up above us all, and you know, it's just like. We could sit and play cards with the chief like anybody else, you know, up there. And a lot of times when they went out to the outside stations, now they were respected a little more out there. But Central Station was different. You know, it was different. You was working with all the office people and everything up there.
We hope you enjoyed watching these documentaries. It was our goal to share and preserve the memories of our retired Greensboro firefighters. It is our desire that these documentaries will inspire future generations to continue the brotherhood, sisterhood, and camaraderie while always striving for excellence in their careers. While fire apparatus, equipment, and technology have improved, several things will always remain the same. The courage and bravery it takes to mitigate natural and man-made disasters will always be a part of the job. Although our retirees are no longer a physical part of the GFD world, a giant piece of each retiree's memories have been shared with you today. These memories will be in their hearts and minds forever. A special thank you goes out to Captain Harold Haney for his many long hours of recording and editing. Thank you, Harold. a job well done.